If you have questions about making enamel pins, watch this video. So, how do artists make enamel pins? It's a pretty straightforward process, but for some reason it feels like it's hard to find all the information in one place. But the good news is, it's super easy to do, even finding a manufacturer online, and, spoiler alert, 99% of all pins are made in China. Keep watching and I'll tell you everything you need to know. There's 3 stages to making pins: ideation, design, and manufacturing. If you're an artist that's trying to get your pins made, you probably already have a good idea. You can make something in your style of illustration or out of a character that you created. Anything like that would work perfectly. But most businesses will mess this part up by making something super boring out of just their logo. The better choice would be to find something related to your business, like an icon or an item people would like, whether they were a fan of your business, a brand new customer, or just fans of enamel pins in general. Like, don't make a pin that says Nick's Taco Truck. Make a pin of the taco truck. That would be super dope. I'd buy it. Brainstorm a list of ideas. Find all of the things that are related to your business, your brand, or whatever it is that you're making pins for. And try to make sure the subject is a little bit broad. Like, it doesn't have to be super niche to what you're doing. It just has to be something that people would like to wear. I collect a lot of pins, and I'll tell you, my biggest collection is like Simpsons pins. And the first pins that I bought were not just the main characters. They were weird, obscure references to things that only hardcore fans would get. I once saw a Space Jam pin that was just the bottle of Michael's secret stuff or whatever it is that he convinces the characters they need to drink to be good at basketball. Which reminds me, I have other pins that are like Nike shoes and not the Nike logo. And the Nike logo is arguably one of the most iconic logos that you've ever seen. That doesn't mean that it makes a great collectible pin. So once you get past the idea stage, you're in the design stage. Whether you're doing it yourself or hiring a designer, it's super important to understand the process of how they're made so that you can design your products properly. That alliteration though. The metal part of the pin creates outlines that separate each color. The cast metal is called an embryo, and they inject each color one by one into the separate parts of the design. So this means in your design, the colors cannot touch each other. They have to be separated by an outline. So if your design or whatever it is that you're making doesn't already have that, you have to be able to go in and separate each one of those, preferably in something like Illustrator, so that you can make sure that the line weight is proper. So designing it to the actual scale in Illustrator or your vector program and making sure that your strokes are at least 1 point in thickness is the best way to know that your pin design is going to look exactly how you want it to. Over the last 20 years of being a product designer, a little trick that I've learned is to actually print out your mock-up on your regular printer and just do it at the exact size that you want. And if you're debating between 2 or 3 sizes, print out one of each. And then just take some scissors and cut out as close as you can to that printout on the piece of paper. And I don't know why, but for some reason, it just makes a big difference from having just a little print in the middle of a sheet versus cutting around it. It really gives you a better perspective of what it's going to look like. Then I just hold those cutouts side by side, put them up on my jacket where I have all my pins to make sure that the sizing looks good to me. And I found that that's just the best way to make the right choice for your sizing. Now it's time to find your manufacturing partner and get this thing made. Finding a manufacturer can be a little bit confusing because honestly, people like to gatekeep the information about it. Like I said earlier, most pins are made in China, but you probably get ads for like Wizard Pins or The Studio and these other third-party companies saying that they will manufacture your pins for you. But as I said, they are third parties. So I have a business where we also offer this service. So I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing, but it's tough when it's not transparent and you make your order and then the box shows up from China and you're confused like, I thought I ordered these from California or Texas. But the fact of the matter is, these are customer-facing businesses that partner with manufacturers overseas so that they can get the cheapest price possible. There are some manufacturers in Canada, but the pricing is way higher. So it might be another conversation about the ethics of getting your things produced in a place where there's a lot of pollution and a lot of controversy around the employment. But these are just the facts of how these things are made. But there are some good reasons to go with a company like this. Most of them have vetted these factories, make sure that their conditions are up to standards and that they're getting you the best prices. And they've worked with these companies and these factories so they actually know how to communicate with them well and communicate during the times when they are actually online. When you're dealing with these manufacturing processes, all of the finishes, the different ways that you can color the metal, pick the rubber backings, the fine pebble texture on the back, laser engraving, and 3D embossing and all of these other options that you may not have ever worked with, these companies are a great way to step in and be the middleman, ask the right questions to know what you want, and get the factories to do these things correctly the first time. Hey, Nick, you forgot something. If you feel confident that you can handle this process yourself, you can find your own manufacturer using a website called Alibaba.com. This allows you to contact factories in China and get multiple quotes for your projects. And my biggest tip for working directly with them is to over-communicate during every part of the process. Okay, here's a few frequently asked questions that I can help answer. Can I make enamel pins at home? There's definitely ways to make pins yourself, but they're just not going to be the same quality as getting them done in a factory. They require heavy machinery, very specific materials, and a really, really in-depth process to make a high-quality pin like the ones you would buy from me, for instance. But that's because I would dare not make them myself with my own hands because I would fail miserably and they would be horrible quality. So yeah, this isn't something I really recommend for people who are trying to make a real business out of making and selling their own pins. Why are enamel pins so expensive? They're usually not that expensive. Like, they cost less than $1 typically to produce, but you do have high shipping costs from overseas. Plus, you have to make a mold, and if you have a 3D engraving or a laser engraving or a specific kind of packaging that you want, that's whenever you start tacking on more money to this pricing. And you usually have to get a minimum of like 100 pieces. So overall, you spend a couple of $100s to get into this for your first 100 pieces. But being that you could sell them for like $10 each, you can make your money back pretty quickly. So in the long run, they really aren't that expensive. Should I worry about copyright infringement? Let's just say yes. If you're not in a position to be able to go through litigation and close down your entire store for up to like 6 months while you try to figure out the legal battle of using somebody else's intellectual property to make your pins and sell them online, and, getting popped by a certain singer's family for using her image on your products, just stay away from it all entirely. What's the difference between hard and soft enamel pins, and which one's better? The difference between hard and soft enamel is actually pretty easy to see when you look at them side by side. Soft enamel has more of a dip in the color, and it's not as glossy as a hard enamel pin. Hard enamel pins are usually more flat on the top, they're a little bit glossier, and you typically see them with a shiny nickel or gold base. And if you see them with black, it's usually like black nickel, and it's not true black. But you can get 100% black on your metal for a soft enamel pin, and you can even spray these into a lot of different colors. To me personally, soft enamel pins are more for like a collectible, cartoonish look, while a hard enamel pin kind of gives it more of an elevated look in my opinion. But I think there's a time and place for both, so I don't think that one is better than the other, and I use both methods kind of equally. There are also other options for making your pins, like die-struck 3D metal, full-color printed epoxy pins, glitter fill, and a whole bunch of other cool techniques. So yeah, I hope this video helps shed some light on the overall process. If you want me to go more in depth on any part of the manufacturing process or the design process, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see how I actually design pins for my clients, watch this video. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for checking out my videos. And like always, we'll catch you on the next one.